Welcome. I'm Doug Smith with the Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative. I work with the Exceptional Children Department. This session is going to be a brief overview of oppositional defiant disorder. During this session, we will give a brief description of oppositional defiant disorder, take a look at some typical behaviors, discuss some classroom strategies, and think about some professional and personal strategies to use. Oppositional defiant disorder is a consistent pattern of defiant, disobedient, and aggressive behavior towards authority that persists for at least 6 months. Types of behaviors include defiance of authority, arguing, losing control of temper, refusal to follow rules, deliberately bothering people, placing blame on others for one's own actions, being easily bothered, and maniacal behavior. Typical behaviors for students with oppositional defiant disorder: often loses his or her temper, frequently argues, often disregards adults' requests or rules, deliberately tries to provoke people, frequently blames others for his or her mistakes or misbehavior, is often easily irritated by others, is often angry and resentful, and is often spiteful. Some classroom strategies that you may want to implement: instead of just mentioning classroom rules and regulations, teach them how to apply the rule to their actions. Decide which behaviors you're going to ignore. Target only a few important behaviors rather than try to fix everything. State your position clearly and concisely and choose your battles wisely. Do not take defiance personally and avoid public reprimands. Change the subject if you suspect that the topic of discussion will result in an argument. Be careful not to get caught up in a discussion or argument with a student. If you find yourself being drawn into an exchange with a student, immediately use strategies to disengage yourself, such as moving away from the student, repeating your request in a businesslike tone of voice, or imposing a predetermined consequence for noncompliance. Avoid using negative phrasing. Instead, restate requests in positive terms. Create rapport by communicating to the student that you feel they are capable and you know how hard they are trying. Establishing rapport involves making positive connections throughout the day that describes the student's appropriate behavior. Acknowledge that the student is in control and must make their own behavioral choices. Frame choices with a positive expectation and outcome. Keep the wording simple and clear. Allow sufficient time for the student to make a choice. Oppositional defiant students like to be in control of the situation. Therefore, where appropriate, instead of providing them with directives, ask them questions. Point out positive characteristics. When you must respond to incidents of problem behavior, it is important to consider that your responses should allow for the acceptance of responsibility and the development of self-control. There is not a one-size-fits-all response for dealing with problem behavior. There are some general principles that you can follow to guide students to make good decisions when responding to problem behavior. Some professional or personal strategies that you may want to implement: maintain self-control. Do not immediately react. Take a deep breath, relax, and remain silent. Honor the student's personal space. Avoid confrontational body language. Consider using a prearranged nonverbal cue. Avoid physical prompts. When you do speak, use a neutral and calm tone of voice. You want to manage power struggles by ignoring the challenge and diffusing the situation with 1 or 2 word responses. There is no need to engage the student in further discussion. It is not necessary for you to have the last word. The student can be pulled for further discussion later, if appropriate. Label the emotion the student's behavior appears to convey. Paraphrase and ask clarifying, open-ended questions. Be empathic and listen carefully to what the student is communicating. When students are becoming upset, they may not be able to control their own feelings. Divert the student's attention away from the problem situation. Remove the student briefly from the setting. Allow the student a cool-down break in a designated area until ready to return to activity or to reflect on the problem. Offer calming strategies available for students to access. For some students, a visual menu of calming activities can be made available. Collaborative problem solving, or CPS, is a method of conflict resolution that was originally developed for working with very difficult children. CPS was originated by Dr. Ross Green and subsequently developed by Dr. Green and Dr. Stuart Ablin and their associates at Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School. It involves 4 basic steps. The first step is to identify and understand the student's concern about the problem to be solved and reassure him or her that you can work together to resolve the problem. Paraphrase the student's concerns and demonstrate a respect for the student's point of view. The second step is to identify and share the staff concerns about the same issue. The third step is where the student is invited to brainstorm solutions together with staff. Ask open-ended questions, get a better understanding. The fourth and final step is where the staff and student work together to assess potential solutions and choose one that is both realistic and mutually satisfactory. Thank you. I'm Doug Smith with Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative with the Exceptional Children Department. If I can be of further assistance, please feel free to contact me at doug.smith@hazard.kyschools.us or doug.smith@theholler.org. Be safe, be kind, be exceptional.